Hello again, friends, and welcome back to The Mouse Said the Butler Didn't Do It. First of all, Super Bowl Sunday is over. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks and their fans. I'd like to give a shout out to Mark Holmes and Jobu Sports Report for his wonderful podcast for us. Those of us that are off-grid, some of us might not have television. And when that comes up, there are a couple of good people out there, such as himself, although he's a Cowboys fan, along with Philly 500, who is an Eagles fan, that do the podcast and are quite engaging when it comes to their reactions on YouTube to plays. And yeah, Mark and Philly are friends, and we have a blast on their channel. If you're looking for an Eagles commentator or a Cowboys commentator that are fantastic, check out Jobu Sports Report and check out Philly 500. Now, on to our story. When last we met, something seriously happened. There was a fire, and it turns out it's arson. And what Chris and Silver are both figuring, as Silver knows who it was, that it was Reed that was responsible. Chris is seriously dealing with the thought that Reed thought Storm would be with Silver. And there's a possibility of an attempted murder. So, now we continue in Chapter 94 of A New Hope Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us. Chapter 94. Emily entered with a box in her arms, and the poor woman looked defeated. She set down the box to open the lid. A silver tabby mama popped her head out. With her was a tiny gray kitten, and one who looked like her, and an all-white baby with dark rings around his eyes. Her long braided golden, silver, and red hair was streaked with dirt and grime. The band she usually held it in left pieces stuck in places where the heat of the fire had actually melted them in strands in her beautiful long hair. The oversized tee she swiped years ago from Silver was soaked through and had several holes that were not there the other night when they relaxed over tea in the family's private sitting room at the Crystal Heart Lodge Inn Bed and Breakfast. They looked more like burn holes from flying sparks and dropping embers. Storm shot out of his chair with Tootie by his side, almost as a mirror image of him, as she tried to keep him from going off balance, and caught him as he started to fall. "Mom! Mom!" He took a step. Emily held up a hand. "Sit down. DQ and I are okay. Everyone is. Thanks to Jasper." Tootie helped him to sit down as he started to shake. Ethel placed a hand on her friend's shoulder. "I take it the little one with the glasses is Richie. I would say the gray is Bill, and the one who looks like Mama Lucy Swan and is a little fluffy ball of fur that's slightly pudgy is Ben. 'Cause, yeah, he seems to be a pudge." She was talking about the kittens and the mama cats. She bent to pet them. Then, as she stood, she whispered, "We had a shocker tonight. Not as big as yours, though, honey." She leaned in. George and Reed pulled some shit when they were doing things to our Ghram. We found paperwork from a DNA testing. Tootie, RCC, and Buddy are Gramps. What? He couldn't have been more than... Wait a minute. There's only 11 years between Tootie and him. That's right. He was 11. They used a lambskin condom we used to buy for Ranella to collect sperm from Ghram. I don't want to think about that shit even now. Or how they pulled it off. And then Reed played his games. He got Phyllis pregnant with it, probably when he got her high. She was a user. After all, it was Kathy that got her connected with him, and it wouldn't surprise me one fucking bit if Georgie Porgy wasn't doing games with Michelle. We know from Ranella that, well, that's one of the reasons she looked over her shoulder to see what Chris was doing. His interest was focused on Gracie and washing the cat. She turned to do a dance with Emily, who now faced the kitchen through the arch, and Ethel's back was to her man, so Emily could watch unnoticed by their quarterback. You know, she didn't actually pay a ransom for Storm as much as she paid Michelle off to get her out of New Hope, and it was the only way Ranella could ensure that part of George's games were dealt with. Michelle's the one who got the idea to basically sell Storm, and I was there when she told our queen if she wanted the baby, she would pay for her to disappear with the knowledge that she had on things. I'm thinking Michelle was threatening a blackmail situation. If this shit had come out about George and Reed back then, things would have been a hell of a lot better for all of them. You thinking you should have explained things to Ghram? Emily nodded. I'm thinking Chris and I really fucked up with not telling Ghram the truth as a kid. If we would have reneged on the deal, I honestly believe Ranella wouldn't have given a shit. She would have been able to be his mother out in the open, and I would have still been mom or mommy no matter what. He would have had the two of us plus his father. We may have been able to stop this shit before it even got started back then if we had done that. Also, there are vials of Gram's sperm frozen in John Hopkins' IVF division. Phyllis played her own game. She did a collection the weekend shit went down. It appears that that's when she got pregnant with RCC and had someone put it in the bank for her. That's where Buddy came from. What? Reggie, you know what I'm thinking? What's that, Ethel? If the Buffinator could have done that to Chris, she would have. I wonder if Phyllis got the idea from her mother. Ethel stopped, half frozen where she stood. She glanced over her shoulder to her husband and turned back to Emily. Holy shit, you might be right. Peggy looked into Ranella's diary. There was supposed to be an exchange on the hayride that October after they were killed. Ranella was to take custody of all three, Tootie, RCC, and Buddy, in exchange for $1.2 million to Phyllis. And I bet she has more plans to use Gram's sperm. After Alice is involved, and so is Sherry. They're investigating, and someone pulled a break-in at the inn. Peggy and Hut are there. They caught them in the office going through files after they checked Gram's. Then that's what the call was I missed. My phone was going off as we were getting the cats out of the house. Emily blew out a breath. I've been thinking about that. I wonder if Michelle wasn't pulling some shit of a money change in the way she was living. Ranella paid her to keep quiet, and that's how she was paying the way for her and Eric. Emily tapped her toe on the floor. Well, that knowledge is coming out now in part of and the paperwork Ranella left behind. She knew both Tootie and Storm were Gram's. RCC and Buddy weren't clear, but her diary definitely shows what was going on at the time, and she seemed to know they were Gram's. She had paperwork that was placed in that envelope. She more than likely had Michelle hold it to protect Mandula from George and then Reed's raft. You know, Reed would have gone for the throat. I hate to say it, but because of George, he hated Ranella from the time he turned 8, and she refused to get him that pellet rifle because she knew damn right well he'd harm animals and probably take a shot at one of the kids, especially Ghram. Oh, yes, I do, and I do agree. Here's something I've been thinking on. Double blackmail. I bet to keep Michelle in line because Ranella really didn't give a rat's ass as to who George played with, but wanted to protect you, Chris, and truly she wanted to protect Ghram. She tracked down Michelle and the English teacher's kid. She knew where that child was and held it over Michelle to keep her quiet, continued to pay her just so she was gone. Yepper, I bet there's something in those diaries of Nellie's. We'll have to all have a look in there. And when the things were placed in storage, all the paperwork was put there by her daughter for a backup to keep Reed in line, or so she thought. Because at Ranella's death, the money stopped coming in to Michelle, and I would bet anything of a bag's weight of pinto beads in gold that Michelle and Eric were living off of what Ranella was paying her. When it ended, they were then having to live off what they had put away, and it only lasted a short time because of his gambling and her drinking problems. Then they ran out of it, and it was a scramble, and that's when the battle for Storm took place because they figured there was money attached. Will was trying to get him back to us, hence Kathy filing for the divorce. You're right, sweetie. Storm was then about 10. He, Eric, showed up here to try to get the kids around that time. They'd split. Emily nodded. 5 years ago, those things went into storage. I bet they got evicted, and she used what she had left to rent the moving trucks, hire drivers, and have them put things into storage. And he was supposed to get custody of the kids to use their state funds and Sandy's police pension to pay for them to keep going. But he lost the battle to Ghost. Therefore, he didn't get the funding he was expecting. He left her stranded and took off. Emily removed several burned bands from her hair. He tried to confront Silver shortly after Ghost was awarded custody because the kids were with us. He somehow got the deed to that house that Sandy owned. He pulled something at the land register office because there was never a divorce between him and Sandy. He sold the house on the kids and waved the money in Silver's face. My man decked his ass. And we settled the kids and Ghost in Cottage 4, next to Bocce and PayPal until Ghost purchased the farmhouse. Ethel glanced towards Chris. He's busy with a bath. Talk to me. What's going on? Ethel inhaled deeply. Okay, we got that one figured. But if Phyllis, it was years until she suspected and then found out what was done. She thought the child, Tootie, was Reed's, until things started to come out with him, and it turned out Tootie, as she got older, started to resemble Storm more and more as she was with Kathy, and RCC is the spitting image of Papu Theo. But with Buddy, his hair color is Chris's all the way, and he has the old man and Pop's deep blue Irish eyes. So that's why he was placed in foster care. So more than likely, Iceberg and Twinkle didn't figure it out because her plan of getting money for him died when they did, and she was shitting herself should Reed find out about the boy being Gramps. Then she got back with Buffy and Lowell. Emily tugged a metal band loose where the rubber had melted in her hair. The plot thickens, and the game seems to be afoot, Watson. If the Buffinator is involved, that would explain some things about her shit over Chris. 3 of her grandchildren are his grandchildren. Ethel bowed her head. There's a possible 4th. Remember, Phyllis is pregnant again. Kathy has the paperwork. She shows items of interest to Phyllis, who they had already had DNA testing done showing Ghram as father. Phyllis already knows what she pulled and that Buddy is Gram's, and she lets Buffy know about what she and Kathy think that they have about a secret and something on Chris and Ranella, and as Ghram is the queen through birth, there's money and something to hide from me. Phyllis informs Buffy, who in turn figures she can blackmail Chris into leaving me because I don't think he ever would. But how am I not supposed to know if we raised Ghram together, the 3 of us? She knew you lost Ram, Ethel. Ranella has an unwanted pregnancy because it would destroy her marriage, so she offered you the adoption without you knowing she had an affair with your quarterback. That's the way she would think. Emily tapped the side of her head. I'm talking the Buffinator. Remember, sister, more money and love for gossip, but much more resides in that belfry, except a couple of goofy bats. And they're doing their best to flee the cobweb space. Ethel busted out laughing. You have such a way with words. You're right. Ethel blew out a breath. Then that bitch went and told Von Torp and figured they could get the backing from Chris to keep their mouth shut about the affair. An affair that never happened because we gave the okay. And then she probably shit herself and was giddier than all hell with the test results that showed Tootie was Gram's and not the heir apparent. Who the hell allows their 11-year-old son to father a child? Then a second at age 17, followed by a third before he's 22. That's fucking insane. Effie, think about this. Why would they try to get Thurston W. connected with Tootie in high school if they didn't already have the info that she was Gram's and he was Ranella's and Chris's? Don't let me get you pissed off over what I'm going to say, 'cause I know your temper. But if they didn't know, she would have just been considered a kid born out of wedlock and a bastard child. I hate to say it, but that still carries a stigma of taint of an illicit situation. Why the hell would Von Torp want a daughter-in-law that was a bastard child to possibly nobody and an old man of some type? When in their circles of money and ancestry, it all matters. Ranella's family have a well-renowned history. That's why. Chris is a world-renowned, very sought-after chef. Plus, Chris's people have the background of an Irish IRA hero and the legend in James Connolly, and is a distant relationship to the actors Arthur Shields and Barry Fitzgerald through Shields' first wife and their son. She was related to Connolly through the family, like Chris is through a cousin or something. So all very well cherished Irish backgrounds. She threw a glance towards her husband. Also, it just came up, Mama Esther. There's a connection to Leslie Howard's family through her people being Austrian-Hungarian Jews that fled to Ireland and settled there in the late 1500s, which established an Irish background and then coming to Bridgewater in Massachusetts. He's still engrossed in my granddaughter and calming her down. It's okay, Ethel. Emily looked from the kitchen to her best friend. That's her Uncle Chris. Also, isn't there part of the background out of Bridgewater that goes back to the Mayflower or something? Not the Mayflower, but one of the ships that landed shortly thereafter. Emily nodded. And then there's you. Me? Ethel blinked. Yeah, you silly. You're a Franklin. Although not from Ben's descendants, but his older half-brother, Samuel, still carries precedence, at least here in these parts and in the historic East Coast. Come on, you gotta be kidding. No, really, she's always been a bitch over that and jealous as hell. Give me that pointer, at least, if you won't admit it. She's always had a thing, if not for your quarterback, then for one of your 7 brothers. Nodding, Ethel turned back. Thank God. He hears what I'm about to say. He'll freaking lose it. I have a sneaky feeling Buffy Maytag Berkshire, the Buffinator, is pulling strings behind the scenes. Dr. Berkshire is a patron of Von Torp. That's why Thurston W. was invited to date Cootie. I'll bet the bank on it if I'll be a monkey's aunt. And to do that DNA testing, they needed something with Gram's DNA on it. That's why the braid was taken from his hair. Then reusing it proved RCC and Buddy's patronage to him. The kittens scrambled from the box in search of their other litter mate, as the mother cat followed. Holy shit, is he okay? They'll handle it. He'll stand as always, but thank whoever for Destiny. She's his rock. Has been since the 11th grade at Pensbury. Tootie, whose birth name is Dorothea Theodora. Now, you tell me. Asked if she, RCC, and Buddy could call Ghram Daddy. Destiny and him have no problem with them being Daddy and Mama. So Phyllis has harmed these poor children too. But my question is, when did she find out about Tootie, I mean? 'Cause it's obvious someone came up with this idea of a collection and Emily shook her head. Why didn't she come to you and Chris? That poor girl. And why would she want a second? Wait a minute. The money. The same with the third. Emily stepped back. Ethel stepped back with a quirk to her smile. She saw Bucks, and I think Kathy, maybe Michelle, told them that Ghram was Renella's and Chris's. And when they died, there went the financial gains they thought they could get, because Chris as chef and me as management, we didn't have the money they were looking for. And the Queen never told anyone we held stakes in the inn, nor did they have any clue that Renella, Poppy, and Theo had set up the foundation, and all of their estate was put into it along with the other accounts. Renella and they set up and placed for Ghram. Now I know why there were multiple accounts and 2 others that are joint. Ghram may have other children from that bullshit 16 years ago. This is also why the shit has picked up with Chris and the Buffinator. Tootie started dating Thurston W. when she was 17 in high school. That's 2 years ago. At that time, Eric had already lost the battle for the kids. Michelle was Buffy's housekeeper. The 2 of them became rather thick. Buffy has always wanted my Chris. Her granddaughters and grandson are his grandchildren, and Michelle wanted a stake in it because Storm is her grandson, as he is Chris's also through Ghram. Those 2 bitches are plotting together. Michelle wanted money, and she figured she could blackmail my lion into the Buffinator's bed. That was 3 years ago when she started this shit in town. And 19 months ago, when you doused her in the Starbucks glory and then did the drum solo on the trash can on her head that Ringo Starr and our own Ricky Ratty would be very proud of, Emily laughed. Next time, that drum beat won't be on a trash can. She'll need dental work. There's now more at stake here than my loving and very loyal and proud of his vows first string and quarterback captain of the Lions. My grandchildren have been through enough shit because of these bitches and the Carlsons men. She stepped back to blow out a breath and raised her voice so Chris could now hear. I need to tell you something while Chris is standing here in hearing range. She threw him a glance as they circled and sidestepped each other to stand side by side. Chapter 95. The two women had perfected the dance over the many years of their friendship. Okay, and you are right about the names. Emily was tuned into the game that was afoot. She breathed deeply. Mama Kitty has just reacquainted herself with her little girl, and Silver had finally fallen asleep when all hell broke loose, and Gracie and Jasper came flying down the stairs into Silver's laps. Knees first, not to mention that. Almost crushing my poor man's family jewels when he was sound asleep, and she screamed in Arapaho in his face that the house and shop were on fire. They saw Chris noticeably flinch and try not to react in the way he cupped himself. Please, no more bad news, girlfriend. I don't know if I can take any more tonight, Emily said. Ethel smiled. I put clothes in the bathroom for Silver. Do you know your old running back has as sexy as a naked bum as my quarterback? No wonder we fell in love with these two renegades in high school. Nice and firm. Grrr. Go Lions! Emily burst out laughing and threw her arms around Ethel. I'm sorry. I know I stink to high heaven, but damn, girl, you just made my night. Excuse me, ladies. Chris turned to look at them. Or should I say, lioness? Chris grumbled. But did you two lioness just compare my butt to my best friends from high school, now that we're 62? Every one of us lionesses compared our male lions' tails, rear ends, chest, abs, and sexy bods to every other ones of you who were on the lion's front line and belonged to us lionesses. And we had the inside track with the help of our Queen Ranella, 'cause one of our lioness's lions and we were all together on it. She knew each one of you, and she did take measurements of every one of you guys. The two lionesses looked the old lion's quarterback up and down. And our offensive line is still very fine, Ethel winked. I agree, Emily smiled. The look on Chris's face had them laughing together. Go get a shower in Chrissy's old room. If you need a hand with your hair, give a yell. And there's items from Destiny's Spa. She said to use whatever you need. My new daughter-in-law is the best. Oh, Emily smiled. They got engaged? Yes, she pumped her fist. Love you like a loon, girlfriend. Emily took a breath and started off. Chris turned on the warm water in the sink and made sure it wasn't too hot for the injured cat. He'd already lathered up Jasper, and Gracie was quietly singing to the cat as she gently used the bath scrubby to get him clean. Chris started to rinse and joined her in the song of 5 little pumpkins, then 10 little turkeys. Ghram opened the front door for Jim and LeBeau to support Izzy between them. Christ, it's about time, Chris said. It wasn't easy getting King Kong out of that bus, Jim growled. Devo, JC, LeBeau called the teens around them. opens the sleeper sofa while Uncle Ghram gets the sheets and things. That way, Uncle Yuma, he gets bags of cat food into basement, and Auntie April, she said she set up the litter. We need to get Uncle Iz in afore we drops him. Yes, sir, Papa. The teen left the living room. Do you feel you can sit on the dining room chair here? Jim asked as Ghram went for the linens. Yuma hefted 2 huge bags of cat food past them, and they closed the door. This was for the kids. This was for the kids' wagon from Grand's front yard to be pulled in, with April hauling 6 yellow barrels of cat litter in it. Plant my ass. I'll crawl in there if I have to. They set him down on the chair. You did not pull an AMA, did you? Chris wrapped the cat in a towel. Gracie, Mama is upstairs in the bathroom in the hallway. Yours and the girls' bath for when you and the girls' bath for when you have sleepovers with Mickey. Go get cleaned up and go off to bed. I'll make sure Jasper is dried and properly brushed, and I'm sure he'll find you when I let him go. He's a very loyal kitty and very, very smart. And I'll make sure we set up a medal ceremony for him with a certificate. Now, it will be in the spring, so we have time to plan, but it's going to be a very big affair for him. Thank you, Uncle Chris. I love you, Jasper. She kissed the cat's head, gave him a gentle pet, and left the room as her tears fell. Izzy watched his daughter go. Uncle Chris, I need to have Rain check Jasper out. That bastard hit him with something. A breaker bar or a big wrench. A huge truck ratchet. Whatever the fuck it was, he used it like a golf club several times. And it was those fuck-ups, Reed and Reggie. They caught me coming out of the dog door and with Ratchet in my arms, and I'd had enough time to grab a reusable grocery bag and a couple of her toy litter mates. Not much, but I grabbed what I could for her. I'm friggin' bigger than Miss Bella is in width. Damn! I had Ratchet in one arm with a bag slung over my shoulder on my back. I didn't have a friggin' chance to get my legs under me and set because the dog door is about 10 to 11 inches too short for an offensive center linebacker. I got partway out of the door, and before I got fully cleared to set to even get into the 3-point stand. Then there was no way to get out of that stance to get my big fat self upright. I got nailed in the back of the shoulder. Ratchet's stuffed litter mates deflected some of the impact with them being in the bag over my shoulder. I caught part of the blow in the back of my head, and it split my noggin and dazed me. I rolled and tossed the kitten to protect her, and the beatdown was on. He blew out his breath as he slowly rocked in the chair. All of a sudden, I hear Rain screaming, and he's sneezing like someone stuffed a feather duster up his freaking nose, and a high-pitched yowl like only a Persian can scream, followed by a tiny mew. Whatever that son of a bitch had in his hand when he clobbered me, he tore Jasper from his face when the cat attacked, and yeah, little Jasper went for his face. The motherfucker hit him with whatever it was he nailed me with. Jasper is still a baby. He went flying and hit the wall of the burning house. and here comes him and Ratchet both in all out attack mode. He came back at them while his spur was smoldering. Little one is dodging the freaking slug someone else is firing at her. Jesus Christ, don't tell Smeagol some ass shot at her kitten. She'll get out that bow and put an arrow through their skull. Chris leaned around the arch. She's upstairs. They shot at the kitten? Ethel's eyes went from Chris to Iz. Yes, Aunt F. Reggie screamed that they were possessed and took off. He's still terrified of cats, it seems. Padfoot was on him, and the bastard pulled a big-ass gun and fired at my boy. He yelped, but I don't know that he wasn't hit, and he managed to sink his teeth into somewhere on Reggie's body. At least I hope he wasn't hit. Jasper got kicked like he was a football by another guy that was there. So yeah, they brought buddies. I got nailed a couple more times. I'm pretty sure there were more than just those two, but I don't know how many, 'cause I got boot prints on my body that are several different sizes. Then Jasper attacked again, and Ratchet was backing him. And Padfoot was up and moving on the charge as Reggie had taken off, and I hear a brawl on the side of the house. That had to be Dad. When Jasper hit the ground again, I rolled and managed to get into a decent stand. I was badly off balance, but I was not having my baby lose her kitty to a bastard and his buddies and Ratch. Chrissy brought that tiny baby girl back from the brink of death when she first adopted her. She was so scrawny a feather could have blown her over. I remember his threat over Nick Andros all those years ago, and my rut snoodle ain't made for a battle like this. He, at 6 months, he had done his job as best he could and protected his daddy and his kids and his kitty buddies. He's just a big, lovable pup. For God's sakes, he's still a baby. I got my legs back under me and came out of the 3-point awkward placement and went through 2 of them, into the third, who I flipped over my back by a half-ass chop block to the knees. I did hear something pop and give way in one of those knees. Not a legal move by no means, and I would have been sidelined and fined for that type of move in the NFL. But hell yeah, I was gunning for that bastard Reed and nailed that SOB with a spear. Uncle Chris, it was a spear like the one that ruptured Chris Sims' spleen when he played for Tampa Bay, and I drove Reed into the dumpster, but I rang my bell as well. That dumpster slammed into the wall, I think, and stopped me cold. It was like hitting Rosie Greer, Bill Berge, and Mean Joe Green all at once. I landed in the mud and could taste blood from my nose and my mouth. I fucking bit my own tongue when I collided with the bin and stopped like I'd been hit by a brick wall. That's why we wear mouth guards attached to our helmets to prevent that kind of shit from happening in a hard hit. I don't remember anything after that, until Dad and Patty were there pulling me up out of the mud, and we were being drowned by the water as the firefighters fought the blaze. Dad found Jasper huddled with Ratchet and several of the stuffed toys that had been blown out of the bag. It was a material one, but no way it was going to stand that type of abuse. Jasper was trying to keep that kitten calm and dry. It didn't work out too good that way. Next thing I know is we're on the way to the hospital. We're packed like sardines in Dad's Bessie, and Mom's ready to kill someone. Her Bug, my truck, and Flea's Venture are in the friggin' garage, which we heard the 3 explosions as we pulled away. None of the damn things had a full tank of gas, so they went up with the fumes. And the fumes will go up in the heat of a fire. I think it was Romeo. Iz rubbed the side of his head. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't big enough to be Rice or Getty. Dad handed Ratchet off to with her toy mates. Then Dad screaming into the phone at poor Yuma in full-out Arapaho and going so fast, all I got was 3 words: food, latrine, dirt. I'm pretty sure that translated into that we need food and litter and to get them to Gram's. But, LeBoo, tell Chrissy her kitty is safe. He blinked twice and shook his head to try to clear his vision. We know this. Ricer, he called, and she will be home with us tomorrow. I thank you for your bravery and saving that baby's teeny tiny life. My lady, she would have been destroyed. She is very strong and determined woman, but she and her human babies and fur babies are everything to her. If anything were to happen, I thank you, brother, LeBoo stated and bowed to him. She is very welcome, and so are you. They said at the hospital there's no concussion, but they put 10 stitches in the back of my head, and damn, I hurt. And for the life of me, I don't know how the hell they got me in Bessie. I do not remember the full ride to the hospital. That's stress and shock. Where's Patty? Chris asked. Ghram put him in the backyard screened-in porch. He's not hurt, at least I don't think he is, but he ripped Reggie up. He'll need a bath. His long fur is covered in blood, mud, and the Creator only knows what other kind of gunk. I just hope he didn't kill the bastard. That's my job. Thick-headed warrior, like his old man. That's one of my kids. Silver stood in the doorway with his younger son. Yuma was only 2 inches shorter than his father's 6'6", and 20 pounds lighter than his 240. And a fully trained shaman to boot, like this one standing next to me. After we discuss this, Yuma and I will get Patty in and give the pup a well-deserved bath. He can curl up with Storm's pups and the other 2. It will be all right. Silver blinked multiple times through the broken lenses of his trifocals, finally removing them. Chapter 96. Chris walked over to take Silver's arm as he held Jasper in the other. What happened to your glasses? He looked at the broken trifocals Silver held in one hand. Dad, take my arm. We know you're blind as a bat, as you say, without your eyes. The exact version of himself in a younger form put out his arm in that of Yuma. Silver smiled and accepted his youngest son's help by taking his arm. Yuma got his father to the table. The look on Chris's face as he and the kitten guided their best friend was that of a man ready to kill. Are you okay? The man demanded as Silver refused to sit. I tackled that shithead when he came around the corner of the shop and the other 2 guys, maybe 3, Didn't recognize them, but they took off in a Chevy diesel. I didn't get a model, but the sound when it started was not gas. And I now know why they were, shall we say, in distress. Silver smiled and pointed to Iz. Me? His oldest son blinked, trying to clear his vision. Yes, you. They were definitely in some serious hurts by the way they were in forward motion. You had 400 plus pounds of a professional NFL Super Bowl champion, an indoor arena offensive center blow through you as he's gunning for your goal line in the brotherly shove or the tush-push play and get the touchdown and protect his quarterback, and you're gonna freaking know you've been hit by a freight train. Good job, son. Proud of you. One of them was seriously limping, like his knee was moving in a backward motion. He looked down at his arthritic hands, then tried to flex the fingers and clench them into a fist, then relax them and stretch the muscles to stretch the muscle tightness. Reggie and I went at it. I can't pound someone's ass like I used to 'cause of the friggin' arthritis has my hands looking like John Carradine's in his old age when he did the bit part in The Shootist with the Duke. Chris winced at not only the memory of the movie, but the look of the man's swelling hands in front of him and what they'd been put through in the cold of that night. Those hands were once the best in high school that a running back ever had. Had Silver not gone into the Marines for the GI Bill, the man would have been a big part of some NFL team's weapon as a running back himself. Back in high school, he was as good as Saquon Barkley. Silver looked into those crystal blue eyes of Chris's. The man may be almost blind without his glasses and squinting, but knew what those sparkling blue ice meant and still flashed after 50 years of friendship. Playbook boy, man? Yeah, they're fucking hurting. But I guarantee that bastard had his face rearranged. The ass is missing a couple of teeth besides them pieces that are gone from the job sweet poor baby Patty did on him. Let's put it this way. I need to wash my scalp knife. Can you say Leroy Brown after the bar fight? Dad, let me try to help you with your hands. Can you straighten the fingers? We'll get some of April's pepper oil on the knuckles, and it will ease the pain by the heat of the capsicum. Yuma helped him to place his hands flat as he could on the dining room table. Dad, April, Lottie's and Gabe's middle daughter, sprayed his hand with the oil she created for her holistic health and healing business that was attached to Mystic Moments and Earth Vibes Hair and Body Day Spa. Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, that feels so good. Just a hint of warmth in the joints, and I can feel the therapeutic of Yuma's massage. The stiffness is easing. Silver closed his eyes and started into a silent meditation of his heritage of the Arapaho peoples. Yuma continued to work on his father's hands to flex the fingers and ease the knuckles. April set the bottle on the table. Uncles and brothers, use that if he needs more, but make sure you use gloves and don't touch your eyes or you'll know it. They really beat the heck out of his knuckles. My daddy would be proud of this old Marine. I would not want to see Reggie's face right now, nor would I want to feel his pain. Dad is still a badass like the rest of the lions. She leaned down to kiss his cheek. Aunt Ethel, I'm headed in to help with the girls. I'm with you. This is male lion talk. We lionesses will have our own discussion. The two of them turned for the living room. Dad kicked some ass, Iz smiled, causing his split lip to start to bleed. Chris went into the kitchen to return with a bag of ice for Iz and set another on the table to pull out a chair. Sit, Silver, you got the shakes. He spoke to Yuma. I need to get Jasper dried and brushed. I promised his little girl. I'll get him another towel, Unc. Yuma turned for the kitchen. Silver grinned and put the broken glasses on the table and held out his arms. Lay that little warrior in here. Go get a brush, and I'll start to dry him off with this one. Yuma gets another, and we'll go from there. The knuckles are much better, thanks to that young lady's herb magic. Why, you're at it, Chris. Hot chocolate with cinnamon, please? I'm freezing my ass off here. Chris set the cat in his best friend's arm. Silver started to dry him as he spoke soft and low to the kitten, and Jasper started to drift into sleep as his purr picked up in the speed and volume. Dad, Yuma laid 2 oversized kitchen towels over his father's shoulder. Thanks. A moment later, Chris laid the brushes on the table and set a steaming pot of hot chocolate next to it and ladled out cups of it. Thank you. I heard Jasper scream, that distinctive yowl of a Persian, high-pitched and like a banshee. When the mew of fear and yet determination that Ratchet gave out came next. Silver took the time and care to look over the kitten. Then the 2 old friends continued to dry him, then started with the soft brush. Is he going to be okay, Uncle Chris? Izzy asked as he watched. I want Rain to look him over. He has injuries, skeletal injuries. He's also got soft tissue problems. Chris blew out a breath. Izzy wiped a tear and gave a nod. Silver's voice deepened. Our Ghram got this kitten for Gracie's birthday in July. I didn't see Reed. He must have somehow hopped the fence, 'cause I'm the one who unlocked the gate to go around the house into the wrecking yard, and he didn't pass me. So I don't know where the fucker got to, but I saw my son down at the dumpster, a dumpster that had been shoved about 5 foot back into the chain-link fence and the low brick wall behind it. Iz moved that bitch that far when he hit it, and it's full of shit to the breaking point because of the holiday. Shit, I won't be that shit won't be picked up until Monday. Chris looked at him, and it's full to the brink. The cats and Patty were trying to get Iz up, only he ain't moving. Scared the living fuck out of me until I saw him reach for Ratchet, as her whiskers must have gotten his nose or bothered something on his face. She's got them whiskers that are extra soft kitten ones. Chris smiled. Took notice to that the first time Smeagol had her at the end. There's something special about that kitten in her breed, whatever she is. That's for sure. They tickle. I scooped them up in a greasy towel from the dumpster top, 'cause the 2 cats were both shivering from the dousing of water, so that could be part of Jasper's fur problem. Sorry about that, Putty Tat. It was covered in grease and oil. Then I tied them to my belt in that bag with the stuffed animal. Jasper settled and kept Ratchet calm. He's good that way, Dad. Always has been. He's got a gift with that. Izzy picked up the paper napkin to wipe his bleeding lip. I was able to get Iz up, and he leaned on me, and Patty stayed close and kept guard until Ricer got there. We gave Ratchet and her bag to Romeo, so I know she was safe. The old gal was in the street, and I don't know how my woman and the kids managed to get all the cats in crates and the boxes, but they got every one of them to safety. Ricer and Getty helped me get Izzy into the middle of Bessie, and we took off. Ghram walked into the dining room. The sofa beds are made up. Let's get Izman going into a shower. Dude, Destiny pulled a box I packed away with the Halloween costumes. She found the moo-moo you wore several years ago from Bubby Esther that she made for you and in her enlarging the 5X. I remember that one, Chris chuckled. Gad, that material has to be from the 70s. It's got some wild colors, but it's all we could find is that will fit you. Bocce made it like a size 8 or 10X. Omar the tent maker time. Bring on the moo-moo. Izzy laughed as they got him up and into the master bedroom's bath. Hey, I remember that. I had back surgery the year I retired from the arena. She made it for me to be dressed as the wife of King Kamehameha. Or was it Pele the goddess? You made a beautiful Hawaiian queen, Ghram teased. Asswipe. But hey, Mandula, brother, as he told him. Chapter 97. Reggie sat there in the apartment in Trenton, New Jersey. The man was still spitting out blood and had lost several teeth and was dealing with multiple broken ones that they themselves were knocked loose. His nose was busted wide open and his left eye was swollen completely shut. Reed was laying on the beat-to-shit sofa and struggling to keep from puking up the rest of his guts. He'd already hurled what seemed like a gallon of blood. That motherfucker tank of theirs. Big-ass bastard. I wish he never would have come out of that broken back fusion surgery after that fucking car wreck 2 years ago. He rolled over and grabbed the bucket next to him. This time, when he puked, it was a green vial. Reggie looked at him. Yeah, that was one of your better ideas. That bitch was supposed to deal the shit and get wired on it, and not get wired on it and go for broke. I didn't know Billy's brother got her hooked. She was at one time one of my intricate dealers. She served several of the big names that came to the theater. He retched once more. Yeah, well, her blowing through town like that, how many were killed? At least 5, and she left that big-ass Russian son of Tsar's looking like he was put back together by a kid with, don't say it. Look at your right hand and arm. Then into the mirror. Reggie glanced down where his hand and arm were torn and punctured from where Padfoot had ripped into him. That large puppy had ripped out a chunk of his forearm and bit through the muscle and broken 2 bones in his hand. He reached up to finger his savage left ear he now bore. Reggie was missing the lower part of the lobe, and they had to plaster it to stop the bleeding. The upper part of the shell of the ear was sliced from its tip into the side of his head. This led him to finger the stitches that had been put in to hold the 8-inch section of his scalp back in place where that old fucking Indian still carries that freaking war blade of his. Look at the fucking mess he made of me. I had to shave the side of my head. Reggie stood and turned to the mirror on the back of the apartment's front door. You're lucky that's all he did, Farouk growled. I'm never going to be able to put full weight on this friggin' knee again. Why the fuck weren't we told that big-ass fucker was living in that house? I thought it was just the old man that was supposed to be there. You said, Reed, that he and Flea still lived in Yardley Gardens next to that place his sister bought. Fuck off. All I knew was what I was told by Jason, that they were leaving the inn. Silver was getting the kid, and they'd have to handle Ghram. That would give us the opportunity to see if those papers were in the files. And the fact that before she bled out, Kathy was about to map and oh, bucket! Kathy said about the map and buried treasure. It's the shit my mother took from my old man and hid, and the shit she buried somewhere on the property that now has the chicken coop or something like that built over it. Like you pulled and were dumb-ass enough to bury in the old Depression treehouse area of the woods that surrounds New Hope. You were too fucking stoned off your ass and can't remember where the fuck you buried $125,000 of JoJo Biggs' money in fucking mason jars, Prasar stated, which you were supposed to turn over to the big man out of Russia. He groaned as he attempted to stand. If I had taken the time to do that in Newtown, he wouldn't have gotten out of there in time, and his ass would have been caught by the FBI fucking eye and the takedown, and he wouldn't be walking free and clear on the streets of Moscow. Now would he? Reed hurled into the bucket and almost hit the floor as he tried to roll. Christ, I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck. Alzar Farif growled as he came out of the kitchen with several bottles of beer and passed them around. No Mack truck hit your ass. Your ass has been hit by a fucking Super Bowl champion offensive center, leading the charge of the tush push, spat Reggie as he reached up to pull loose another broken tooth. What? The man looked at him. Isidore Anapi was the backup center for Jason Kelsey, or was a practice squad or something for the Philadelphia Eagles one of the years they won the Super Bowl. He helped to design a play called the Brotherly Shove or the Tush Push. Reggie looked over at Reed with his head still in the bucket. You need to go to the hospital if you're puking that kind of shit up. No, he gurgled. I need to work this shit out. Well, what did Tammy tell you about what she heard the doctors talking about? Wasn't it something about an appointment that was set for Ghram to bring Storm in this morning, or for an appointment with Moon or some shit like that? Farouk looked at him. Yeah, I need to do some calls. You guys ain't in no shape to help me on this one. Reed raised his head from the bucket. Then we all disappear when we got the truck, and with the end down, that's what you can help with. It's up to you guys to get out there and see if you can figure out about the chicken area and how to... I ain't digging in no friggin' chicken coop. Your old man was stupid as you are. Brilliant idea. Bury the shit close to the inn on that flat area, and while I'm banging that bitch Chrissy, I find out the old man starts to build a chicken coop and a free fucking range area and run for some whacked out birds that are... Farouk shook his head. They're Polish Silkies, Ganoi, Asan, Padawan, and Indian Giants, a woman's voice stated. Grantley West walked out of the bedroom with his arms around his woman, Samantha. How do you know what breeds them things are? Azar asked. All I know is they are nasty-tempered things. That's because I know what type of chickens Chris was looking for. It was my fucking baby sister, Dandy, that got the friggin' things for him. She owns and runs a maple syrup farm with her husband, Sexton Ellsworth. He's another nasty-ass bastard when he wants to be, along with that fucker that used to work for him in Ori Benton and Phil Pickler. Grantley told them. Reed looked at her. Phil Pickler used to work for him? He's Becky's father. Ellsworth, I mean. And they, Becky and Tip, they got custody of Chickie's twins, Samantha informed them. Reed sat up and closed his eyes. Reed blinked several times rapidly. Reggie locked eyes with Reed when he opened them. Atlantic City. Another brilliant idea of yours, wasn't that one, Reed? Just shut the fuck up. Another one of my plans that got screwed up, Reed thought. Chickie was supposed to get Moray Silverstein, Desiree Khrushchev's old man, into a compromising situation and get photos. Instead, she and that idiot she was with wound up committing several murders for piddle payments from gamblers. Reed shook his head. Yeah, and you know what? Becky is right, Fassar asked. No, what? Reggie turned from the mirror to look at him. I've been out of this loop in New Hope since my old man died. What the fuck are you talking about now? Besides being a bitch and Chickie's sister-in-law, as she's married to Tip, she's a police dispatcher now, Farouk answered. She's also a former narc. She was shot in the line of duty when she was on the NYPD, Grantley told them. Reed's eyes bulged. Long Island and Brighton Beach. That's why they're bringing in a squad from up there somewhere. Noel still has a connection or two in the back door of the town council and the mayor's office, or someone is connected to them in one way or another, and they have the in of some type, and we have got no clue who they may hire. So don't get any bright ideas of getting somebody on the payroll. It won't work. But Reed, one thing we do know is that Destiny Cranberry's old man is a former captain of narcotics from New York City. He had a running battle with Mellor Golubev and Giacomo Costini for freaking years. Reggie spit out another piece of tooth. God damn it, I'm going to need dentures or implants thanks to that son of a bitching motherfucking bastard in Silver Bear Anapay. And there, folks, we will end our story. As you found out, at 62, Silver's still a badass when he needs to be. His son, Izzy, ain't so bad himself. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear more of The Mouse Said, please subscribe. There will be several other stories after A New Hope Thanksgiving ends. I thank you for visiting. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you later. Have a good day.